Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am in the defense of creativity, so let's check who is creative, who is not, and how does technology fit in with that. So, first question, how many of you consider yourself to be creative? Okay, how many of you not too creative? Okay. How many of you are artists? None. How many of you? One. How many of you are poets? How many of you are not artists? So, nearly 100%. How many of you not poets? How many of you are not poets? So majority. How many of you are scientists? 3 of you. How many of you are not scientists? If you don't put your hand up, I'm assuming you're voting for that. So no 3 scientists and a majority of no scientists. How many of you daydream? Aha. How many of you daydream every day? How many of you enjoy your daydreaming? Very good. How many of you have had a daydream in the short period of time that I've been here in this theater with you? How many of you have had a daydream? So about 20 of you, which means that about 300 of you are lying. So you thought that daydreaming was not good. In schools, daydreaming considered good or bad? Bad, bad. So we've already established that this team here is bad. It's a bad team, because you daydream. So we now begin to look seriously at what about creativity? What about technology? What about the future? What about the words that are being used to describe education? How many of you here are teachers? Teachers? So a majority. How many of you are engaged in education? So again, vast majority. Around the world, education, 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 considered to be prime. And yet, many individuals don't know what education is. What about the teacher? What about the teacher? What is the most important profession in the world? I don't hear much result. I'm going to argue that teaching is vital, that it's the #1 profession, and that it involves creativity. And now, around the world, it has more and more and more and more technology. Is technology good? So, team, how many of you have graduated from a university or college? So nearly all of you. And I am with you. When I am with 3, 4, 5-year-old children, and I say, what do you think the most important profession is? What do you think X, Y, Z? What do you think the children do? Me, sir, me, with their ideas. and you're graduates, and I'm throwing the rock, boom, into the swamp, and it goes thump. So now let's think about education. How many of you have been to good schools? Good schools. So nearly all of you. How many of you have children? Okay, so nearly all of you. How many of you got your children in good schools? Okay, so let's now think about it. I went to a good school. You went to good schools. And the majority in here, no poets, no artists, no scientists, daydreamers, and we went to a good school? Did we? Were we creative? And what about technology? And is technology good? Is a hand good? Is a hand good, yes or no? So majority, yes. So really, do you mean that this instrument cannot steal, cannot destroy, cannot damage, cannot take? Can it do that? Yes, it can. So it can be incredibly bad. And can it be good? Of course it can. It can help you, it can support you, it can give you, it can save you, it can write you poetry, it can embrace you. So is a hand good or bad? It depends. It depends on the use of it. So let's go back to technology. I got a mobile with me. Good or bad? It depends. It depends. And I have watched children in boring classrooms, uncreative classrooms. And what do? Of course, much more interesting to do. But when children are totally engaged, they forget that because they're fascinated by something else. So I'm going to give you a quick guided tour of creativity because we've got to know what it is and how we defend it. So up here, ta-dum, linear note-taking. How many of you mind map? How many of you mind map? You can shout out? I can hear, I can hear. So, mind map. How many of you have done a mind map? Wonderful. How many of you have done them by hand? How many of you have done them by computer? By software? Okay, so I'm going to show you a mind map. And it's going to be fast up, just so you know how the brain works. So this is not the way the technology works. This is technology showing you how the brain works. And in notes, even in very modern schools, many of the children still take notes in one color, non-creative. This is the way your brain, this is the way every child's brain works. It is filled with colors. It is filled with images. And somebody actually said it to me earlier, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So the mind map demonstrates the natural creativity of the human brain. When computers are used to do what is known as death by PowerPoint. How many of you have heard death by PowerPoint? Technology used to convey word, list, number, vast amounts of information, stress, information overload, and more of it is happening. Information overload. In Singapore, I spoke to children, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and I said, what kind of problems do you have in school? And it used to be memory, concentration. Now, little children, piped up. Stress! Stress! At the age of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stress. Because they are information overloaded. So with technology, you can totally overload. And when you are overloaded and stressed, creativity diminishes. So it becomes serious. So technology is incredibly dangerous and incredibly helpful when it is used well. And first of all, you've got to know what to do with something else. So, I'm going to give you studies. The studies show creativity, what happens with time. Many studies, including the NASA study, but there are multiple that show creativity and what happens as you get older. What percentage, when children, kindergarten children, are given problems and they have to solve, and they're checked with psychologists, and they're given a percentage for their creativity? What percentage do you think? Shout out what you think. Percentage. Is anybody out there? What do they put in your tea? Guess. What percentage did children get in the problem-solving, creativity, ability to find solutions? What percentage? So 80, 90, 95. Next age group, primary school. What percentage do you think they got? 70 to 80. And guessing, by the way, is always a good idea. It helps creativity. If you don't guess, you're stuck. You don't take risks. You don't think. So you've got to guess. And you got 70 to 80. 75 it was. These are rounded off. Next, senior school. What percentage? 50. 50. And you knew it. So all the hundreds of millions of dollars spent on academic research to discover the career, if you like, of creativity. What a waste of money. Because you knew it anyway. You knew it anyway. And you ask your children, how was school today, my darling? Fine, sir. Fine, mum. So now, we've established that nearly all of you are from college and university. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. University, education, and you are all now adults. What's the percentage? Down it goes. Does creativity need defending? Yes, it does. Does technology help destroy it? Yes, it does. Can it help it? Yes, it can. But just to make it even worse, those studies are normal. The results are the same in Singapore Same in Japan, same in China, same in New Zealand, same in Kenya, same in Mexico, same in USA. Normal, depressing, which is why the world is in trouble and why technology is often tried to be poured into dealing with that problem. But it often creates it. Because when you're stuck in a swamp and you think, I've got to struggle to get out, what happens when you struggle to get out? You go down faster. So you've got to find the right way to do it, to use your head well. So, good news. Normal is not natural. Normal is not natural. Natural is, that's the way your brain works. When it is used well, when you can mind map, when you can be creative, when you start to write poetry, when you use technology well, it can enhance all creativity. So, what percentage do you think we use in memory and learning in creativity? What percentage? You combine those together, average day, average school, average, what percentage do we learn? Guess? 1, 15, 10, 5, and the bulk of you guess low, don't you? Low. So we know that we're not using it. But you'll be pleased to know that you're optimistic. You're optimistic. The actual percentage of the use of what is available, less than 1%. Bad news or good news? Good news. It's good news. Because it means what? We have 99 plus potential in memory and especially in creativity. So we are now entering a revolution. We've had the ages of agriculture, globally, industry. What's the age we're in now? Go on, say it out. What age are we in now? I've only got one person speaking yet. Only 500 of you. What age are we in now? So the main ones that win it are information, technology, digital. There it is. And that's what we think we're in, and that's where we're going technological, and that's why we're stressed. Because we're not in that age. We're overstressed, and the brain always finds a way out. We've entered that age, in the knowledge age. Knowledge is what? Knowledge is, I wish you were 4 years old. Knowledge is what? Power. And it's not. And it's not. The manager of knowledge has become a new profession, managing knowledge. However, there's something far more important to manage than knowledge. What is it more important to manage than knowledge? We've got to enter the coming age. The most important thing to manage is to manage the manager of knowledge. And the manager of knowledge is your brain. And your brain uses its multiple intelligences to manage and to survive and to find solutions. So that is the age we are now entering. And it's why you're here, because you are thinking about thinking. You're trying to find better ways to help the brains and the children of the future. And that's the age we're in. In that age, we think intelligently about agriculture, intelligently about industry, and especially intelligently about technology. Technology can be unbelievably enhancing intelligence, or it can undermine and destroy it. And we have to, and it's not maybe, not a good idea, not a kindly idea, it's must defend creativity, because creativity is one of the prime intelligences that the brain has. And we've got to survive, because if we can't find solutions, which is what creativity is all about, we will not survive. We will die, and this planet will go down. And there's no reason why it should, because the brain and technology, when both used well, will help this planet live hopefully and in a much better future. And I will end on just investigating your potential in creativity and language. What is my #1 prime language? English. Please now individually say aloud what your prime first language is. What is your first prime language? Okay, so we've got a whole range of them. A lot of English, Sinhalese, Chinese, Indian, Hindi, etc. I'm going to say no. Communication and the spoken languages, that's not my prime language. And the languages you said were your prime language were not. So we end with a little investigation. I'm going to ask you to access a piece of data in your brain, and I want you to check. How long does it take me to access it? What do I get? And are there any colors or associations? I'll give you a piece of data, close your eyes, check. How long, what do I get? Any colors, associations? Okay, are you ready? Piece of data I want you to access is monkey. Close your eyes, check. How long did it take? Okay, chat with your neighbor. How long did it take? What did you get? Any colors? Exchange, starting now. All right, team. How long did it take you to access that piece of data? I hear second, millisecond, nanosecond, just like that. Impossible. No scientist can explain how the brain does that, just like that, from a nearly infinite, huge database. And you get it just like that. No supercomputer can come close to doing it when it's random. When you got it, it means you're unbelievably brilliant, automatically, which every child is. When you got it, did you get a nice little computer printout? M-O-N-K-E-Y. Is that what you got? What did you get? Picture image. How many of you got a picture or an image? So all of you. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the human race, because this is what your brain did. Image, and radiating from the image, associations, colors, and that's the way your brain thinks. And that's how it does it. Images. Pictures worth 1,000 words. Association, connection, and that's what creativity is. Connecting things in different original ways, creating new things, and that is the human language. That's the language in which we speak. And when you mind map if you only do mind maps digitally. It's dig, 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 dig. When you mind map with your arm, it's like a giant cable with billions of cables, and all your senses go in, and therefore you remember, which is why children love to draw, love to color. And with the computer, you can then digitalize it and record that mind map, and you can pass it on to billions of children. So in 1 year, ladies and gentlemen, 1 year, we could contact nearly every child on the planet and let it know how magical its mind was, and that all it needed to do in noting was to use the human language. And technology can help us do that really well. That's our human language. And it's like a star. So in your head, there are galaxies and galaxies of stars of thinking. And look at it. How long could we add branches to that? We could go on forever. 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 And all that indicates, quite simply, is that the human brain, the brain of every child, is fundamentally infinitely creative. Infinitely creative. So the future is looking really good when we use the brain well and technology well. I rest my case in defense of you and all your children. Thank you.